to the apostles, elders, great millstone, and ruling teach well. Peace of salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Brother Kashakala coming at you with a swift lesson in the spirit. Hopefully it's edifying. So I have here on CBS News, it says U.S. death toll in Iran rises to 6 as Trump says campaign could last at least 5 weeks. These numbers are actually deflated. There are other reports. There's over 200 U.S. American soldiers that have died over there, but of course the media is not going to post real numbers on either side. One side's going to inflate death number tolls, and the other side's going to deflate their death number tolls, so on and so forth. So we don't know, but we do know on both ends of the spectrum there are going to be some casualties, as there's two superpowers going at it. So that's an inevitable thing, because you see here when you scroll down here, it says war's death toll in Iran rises to 787, which could be an inflated number or a deflated number. We don't know exactly. Though we've seen a lot of bomb strikes over in Iran, but Iran has retaliated on Israel and has shot down F-15 fighter jets. But there is video evidence showing that the actual pilots of the F-15s were safe. They did make it out and were ejected out of it. Now, U.S. as in here claims that it was a friendly fire accident, but that's not too good of a excuse. Of course, they're going to give the general public like a PR response, a publicly correct response to give it to still give the American people like an insight that America has this all under control and things, so on and so forth. But really what happened, probably Iranian missiles shot the F-15 jets down. Now the real reason I want to get into this specific lesson is because the White House has just released their overview on what they call Operation Epic Fury, which is going on in Iran right now. We're currently on I think the 4th day of this war. So Operation Epic Fury and Roaring Lion 3/1/26. So this ended up coming out about 2 days ago, as today's March 3rd. Yes, I just dated this lesson. It says, let me get into the nitty gritty of this. So the overview is pretty much telling us what United States is wanting to do. So U.S. and of course is to the general public, so they're probably going to be off script a little bit. U.S. and Israeli strikes continued for a second day with over 900 strikes during the first 12 hours alone, while Iran sustained its retaliatory missile campaign against U.S. bases, Israel, and Gulf countries. It says launching roughly 420 missiles across 9 countries and ships at sea. Iran launched 39% of the total of the 162 missiles at Israel, 40% at the UAE for a total of 167 missiles, and 11% at Qatar for a total of 46 missiles. Iran also expanded targeting to maritime traffic, launching attacks against commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman. After initial denials, Iran state media confirmed on March 1st that Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei was killed in February 28 airstrike. On March 1st, President Donald Trump posted a Truth Social that Iran just stated that they are going to hit very hard today, harder than they've ever hit before. They better not do that, however, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before. Trump later told CNBC that the operations were moving ahead of schedule and added that the U.S. operation is for the sake of the entire world, not just American national security. So pretty much this is an overview of what's going on in March 1st, telling what's gone on. Let me get back to it. Pretty much telling what's gone on here. So key regime officials eliminated on February 28th. So of course the Supreme Leader Khamenei. Now we got to understand one thing. All these individuals were probably in the same vicinity or in the same room as Khamenei. And I did in my last lesson what Trump pretty much doesn't understand, as the Muslim or the Islamic or the Shia faith do believe in martyrdom. So they do believe in going out with a certain purpose. They don't believe in hanging in bunkers. They believe going out on their shields. So in this sense, this is them being on the front line of the battlefield, and they knew that this was going to happen. So this was what their deaths they knew was going to spark um, morale for the Iranian people and the Iranian government. Now, the whole point of the United States making these strikes on these leaders of Iran is just simply, like I mentioned in my last lesson, is regime change. All right, which me personally, I had my take on it in my last lesson, but I do think that was a bad move by um, the American defense because if you want to do regime change, you got to make these dudes that you just eliminated right here look bad. And they didn't do that. They kind of made them look like heroes standing up for their own country. So let's just keep scrolling down. That was day one of operation. All right, let's do Iranian operation. Iran's military retaliated against the joint operation, missile launching missiles and drone attacks targeting the American aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, but failed to hit the ship. No U.S. ships have been struck. The fleet remains fully operational, and damage to U.S. installations is minimal. Has not impacted operations. Now, I will say, if Iran does sink one of these ships, we're going to see a nuke attack on Iran. The USS Abraham Lincoln and also Gerald Ford, those hold heavy nuclear capability. So if they do sink one of those, that's like attacking a nuclear vessel or whatever base that the Americans have, which will retaliate in a nuke being sent over to Iran. So Iran, I do know Iran's not stupid. They're not gonna go ahead and try to shoot that down, but they will show force in a sense. All right, so we're just reading what the White House came out with. Now, Esau's big on numbers and operation and things of that nature, but they're not big on faith. And I'm not saying the Islamic or the Muslim faith is the correct faith, because I'm going to sit here and say that it's not. Okay? We know what the correct faith is, and you should be having your faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, because he's already written all of this to happen. The Book of the Dead and the Quran, they don't write that what's playing out right now is happening. They don't write that. You could go in Second Ezra's, you could go in the Book of Revelation, all of these things, all the way in the Book of Genesis is telling you this is going to happen. Okay, it tells you what's going to happen at the end days. All right, and no other book does that. So the problem is with Esau when he goes to fight any front with any other people, these people have a faith in something. Esau is a faithless individual fighting people with faith. When you fight people with faith, you're going to run into problems because they believe they can win, and they will do whatever they can do to win, regardless of the numbers. Okay? And that's what they're not taking into effect. They just see, okay, Iran has this many nuclear warheads, or this many F-4, F-5 fighter jets, and this many tanks, and this many bases, and this many leaders. That ultimately doesn't matter to the Iranian people. The Shia faith is what matters to them, and they will fight for that tooth and nail until they're fully abolished. And that's not something that Trump is taking account of. All right. So let's keep going. So let's go 4. It says casualty of the Iranian operation. U.S. Command Central. On March 1st, 3 U.S. service members were killed in action, with 5 seriously wounded. It says at least 12 Israelis have been killed thus far in the war, and Iran strike killed at least 9 individuals in the city of Shemesh. It says multiple Iranian strikes on Tel Aviv killed 1 person and injured at least 27 individuals. So far, the attacks have have killed 3 individuals, injured 58 in UAE. Iran strikes on Kuwait killed 1 person and hurt 32 others. 3 people were wounded in Iran strikes on Bahrain. Now let's get this.
work assignments. So, New York it is. And quite obviously, war it is. In interviews over the weekend, President Trump said regime change was part of this endeavor. He even implied there was some sense within the U.S. government of who might come next in Iran. Those references, interestingly, were scrubbed today at the Pentagon and the White House. But absence of reference does not erase the result. The regime has been changed, and something will come next. What that is and what becomes of it is now a U.S. and Israeli concern and project, details to be filled in later. For now, the U.S. and Israel own the skies over Iran. The Iranian military, with whatever remains of its command and control structure, has fired retaliatory strikes in many directions. 6 U.S. service personnel have been killed so far. So the question, how long will this continue?
We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always.
So now we're reporting 6 troops, but let's do this. Iran strikes Israel. This happened about a day ago. It says killing at least 9.
The city of Tel Aviv continues to be Iran's prime target, and there have been regular attacks. Early this morning, our cameraman here recorded these pictures of an incoming salvo being met by interceptor missiles. When it comes to shooting down the Iranian projectiles, Israeli claims of an 85% success rate are entirely plausible. But here is another deadly example of failure. These are 2 Israeli interceptors hunting for a target, which they do eventually lock onto, but miss. The big Iranian missile slammed into central Tel Aviv.
I was right in the middle of that city. I don't believe it's only 9 that died there, but you get the point. You know, they'll always cover things up right there. It's not what I want. I'm going to always bring this script out. Daniel 8:25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Right. By peace he shall destroy many. So all this is going on in the name of security, you know what I'm saying, or national security, but he's destroying many. All right. It says, he said, he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Exactly what it says in the 2nd Ezra 13th chapter. He neither lifted up hand nor sword, but out of his mouth came, you know, of course, those laser beams and things of that nature out of his chariot, Yahushai's chariot. But this Daniel 8:25 is a consistent, perpetual prophecy that is continually going on, and we see the policies and the craft that he's put to put himself in a position, and I'm talking about Esau putting himself in a position to exercise quote unquote peace, but destroying many. All right, so Lord willing, this is edifying. If y'all want to go look up the actual Epic Fury, Operation Epic Fury, which is a dumbass name in my opinion for some type of operation, you go look it up. The White House just came out with it about like a day ago. So Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Achakodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, the great millstone, and rolling, teach well, peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Until the next time, shalom, and like always, repent, for Yahweh Shai is coming back sooner than what me and you believed. Shalom.